PlayStation wins the console war. But then again, who actually cares about consoles in general? Probably no one. When your most popular game on console is probably FIFA or Madden, you know things are not looking well for you. In any case, most game devs are complete skillless losers, and you should not feel bad about them. Not about Sony, not about Microsoft, not about any of these absolute garbage existences. You should be happy and proud that they get what they deserve.
As of that time, Sony are about to release a 40-minute long video to the world, and organization-wide excitement for new reveals undoubtedly comes with a tinge of anxiety. That's because by now, Sony are feeling the disease of victory. The console generation is indisputably theirs. Microsoft is defeated, but the PS5 Pro was just mocked by their audience.
Like everything consoles ever is always mocked by every audience.
Helldivers 2 PSN debacle stripped away goodwill. Horizon Forbidden West took a PR hit over dodgy cross-gen versions.
The Horizon Forbidden West is going to be the most hilarious remaster you have ever seen in your life. Because word on the block is they're going to take the current absolutely vomit-inducing, man-chinned, fluffy hair, body hair, fat Aloy and actually turn her hot. And obviously, woke insane losers are like, oh my god, look at this, a good-looking woman? This is what incels want. Yes, this is what we incels want. Yes, we just want non-ugly characters. How dare we? I know, the tragedy.
Only for Elden Ring to appear and perform alchemy. Suddenly, it wasn't Horizon Forbidden West, it was Horizon Forbidden Sales. Tweets from a few employees at it.
The fact that Elden Ring scored a 97 Metacritic is proof that reviewers don't give a flaming poop. He said poop. About a game UX. I have no idea what game UX even means. Of course I don't care about that. The hell is game UX? Utility? I don't know. My life is a lie. Well, your life has been a lie since the moment you became liberal.
Its studio end up sparking a media firestorm.
No PC graphics stability performance apparently. Yeah. Also, not only Elden Ring proves this, but Dragon's Dogma 2 also proves this. The fact that you could get a whopping 10 FPS in some cities, and the fact that literally no one gave a shit about that at the end, that's all the proof you would want. Not quest design, really. Exactly.
And all of this as we see Jim Ryan's live service.
Dude, look at the upload too, okay? Act 1, Quest 2, kill Bloodraven. Best quest ever. What do? You just kill a boss. There you go. Best quest ever.
Plan, Crash and Burn, Bungie decline, and most recently Concord do.
Bungie's dead, and thank God Bungie sucks.
Immense damage.
The best thing Bungie ever accomplished in their measly, pathetic lives is convince people that it was Activision Blizzard's fault that the Destiny 2 got bad. As we all know, it actually turns out Blizzard was preventing Bungie of adding 2 billion microtransactions to their game, which is the most wildest thing I have heard in my life. Activision Blizzard saving consumers from overly microtransaction games. It feels like that can't be real.
Damage, and we may think that's mostly financial damage. Literally, it is, but in truth, I think it's actually far worse. What it did is it broke the seal of approval. It shattered their own version of Nintendo's famous seal of quality, the idea that they are tastemakers. That got broken because they just served up something that people didn't like. So even when we have Astrobot, an absolutely stunningly good game, should be a free win, what it ends up doing is psychologically highlighting the contrast between the old school, the inventive Japan-led Sony and the bumbling live service movie game Sony, characterized by
Concord is
more recent American leadership. Or to put it in another term,
when you make a game and that character has a slingshot for a weapon, you know you effed up.
Once you become president or prime minister, it's often only downhill from there. Wins or flukes, losses are your responsibility, and Microsoft, fresh off spending billions, is finally going to have games. But before Sony could even answer with that 40-minute video, the worst type of leak happened. A leak that confirmed every fear and suspicion. Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster. This leaked via the ESRB just 2 days before State of Play, just when Sony's fortnight-long "it's so over, we're so back" cycle seemed to have ended. And that was that. People looked at this and thought, really? That's it? There's nothing new? No big game? No new reason to be excited? Here they are doing yet another remaster of a 7-year-old game that doesn't need remastering, probably thinking it's going to be thrown at us at full price, just like with The Last of Us. And right as that leaked, rumors began to swirl that Concord was Herman Hulst's baby. Herman, who of course took over leadership from Jim Ryan. That, again, shattered faith that the future could be good. And that's why at 2:59, right before State of Play is going to go live, it must have been tense, because they knew they had to do the impossible. They had to truly change the narrative. Cutting through all the noise and bringing you the news in context is literally our mission here, and if you want more of that, about Sony. There is no Bloodborne remaster, but yes, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Dude, when is the Bloodborne remaster gonna happen? Why? Everyone wants a Bloodborne remaster. This is not even a question. Now, the only reason why they're not doing a remaster, in my honest opinion, because it's the most sure thing ever, is Bloodborne 2, I guess. Well, what else can it be? Because this is so clear that everyone wants a Bloodborne remaster. My money is also on the idea that it's probably happening this year. Or at the bare minimum next year.
Is remastered. This time, though, it's a little bit different because it will cost $49.99, not $69.99. That's welcome versus the past, but not necessarily narrative changing. What could, though, is Ghost of Yotei. This is coming out 2025. We've got a new protagonist, new location, and thrillingly, 1603.
Dude, people are up in arms about Ghost of Yotei, the fact that the protagonist is a woman. There are people who don't like playing as women characters, but I honestly don't see a big deal here. Ghost of Yotei, unless something comes out, I'm not gonna complain that you get to play as a woman. I'm fine with that. Every MMO that I make a woman character. Why? Because I don't have to fucking try and live my life vicariously through a character that's gonna make me into a man. How about you do that in real life, losers? Or, self-delete. Pick one. I don't honestly care.
Sengoku period, you have characters like Oda Nobunaga, Tokugawa Ieyasu, the legendary...
Wait, what did he say? Oba?
03. The Sengoku period, you have characters like Oda Nobunaga, Tokugawa Ieyasu... the legendary samurai Hattori Hanzo, and for many of us, the setting of the best historical Total War game ever made. It's a fascinating period, a crossroad in Japanese history. Who will rule? How will they rule? And what of all those strange, funny Christians with their strange ways and big boats? But in a way, there's a problem with all that. Number one, it's the obvious place to go, but number two, it's of a massive scale, and it would be quite hard to pull off. Take Ghost of Tsushima. That did so well because it was focused on a small island, a small setting.
No, it did so well because it was a good game.
A personal story. And what stands out to me is that Sucker Punch have not forgotten that's the strength of their game. So this next game is set in the north, right? The big northern island called Hokkaido. At the time, it was called Ezo by its inhabitants, and it was a very distinct place to the sort of main bits of Japan that we know of today. If you play Shogun 2 Total War in the regular map set in the 1500s, 1600s, well, you'll see that Hokkaido is actually not on the map. The map ends at northern Honshu, and that's because at that time, Hokkaido was actually a very distinct place. The people who live there are of the Ainu ethnicity, not the Yamato ethnicity that actually makes up the vast majority of modern Japan. Now, of course, by the time of the fall of the samurai campaign in the 1800s, Lower Hokkaido is on the map in Shogun 2. That makes sense.
Okay, none of that sounds me caring.
because it had came under Japanese control. Now, at the time of this game setting, the Japanese do of course have relations, but the Ainu to the north are sort of seen as like gruff barbarian types. In the trailer, we see a focus on the gorgeous landscapes. We see our character very much being cast as synergistic with nature, I would say. So overall, putting it together, what I'm seeing is a revenge plot. It feels
Looks like an actual woman. Okay. I'm fine with this character currently. Okay, someone in the comments needs to because I have not looked into the details why people are mad about this. And I have not paid attention to this because, yeah, Ghost of whatever is not going to be a game I'm going to personally play. So, kind of no stakes in this horse in general. But, looks decent. Is all the controversy literally the fact that you just play as a woman? Someone needs to explain in the comments. Well, what's the actual controversy why people are slowly getting mad about this? I heard that the voice actor is a crazy social justice warrior that's blocking people who are saying she did a bad job. Did she do a bad job? I'm not sure. Again, don't know enough. I need more info, boys. Give it to me in the comments, please.
Feels like a bit of a Western, obviously a Frozen one, and to me, that seems like they've been able to move this
That's a pretty good looking wolf, though.
franchise forward, but in a way that doesn't forget what actually made
I do have a question, though. Why does she have a banjo on her back? It's not a banjo, it's a tibiki, ibi, whatever the fuck it's called. Don't know. Anyway, why does she have that?
Tsushima successful, which was being smaller, having personal stakes, and good focus. That could be pretty big. Now, wrapping
Iba? Maybe it's called, I don't know.
things on the Sony side, we see LEGO Horizon get a release date, and there's some new free Astrobot DLC. On a personal note, if you want a game to make you feel like a child again, just get Astrobot. It's basically better than most could have hoped for. So that all seems good, but what it didn't do was say, hello audience, the next few years are going to be amazing, here's how. Now, we already knew some things for 2025, like Death Stranding 2, and no doubt Kojima's ability to
Ooh, that's trending too. That's interesting.
just call the player Game Buy Man and just have us all buy his game will still work. Yeah, he's too strange for some people, but his games are utterly unique. Xbox will not have an answer because nobody makes them like that. Of course, it's not a first-party game. Sony do not own Kojima Productions, but it absolutely is an exclusive and one that feels like a Sony first party. There are then 5 other first parties that are confirmed but were not present at State of Play. We've got, of course, Insomniac's Wolverine game. I think that will move the needle. It's been cooking for a while, and it's a beloved character. I mean, my colleagues know him from comics and the 2000s movies. I know him from Logan, a movie I will never forget. I think this could be absolutely massive. And there are then live service titles.
You know what would actually work? A Gambit game from the X-Men. Because the combat for that would be pretty cool. You could touch things to blow them up. You could, blow up heads of people. You could throw cards, screws, pocket sand. And then you could beat the rest with your boa stick. It would be pretty cool. Dude, I think making a good Gambit game would be a game changer. Also, the meme line of "Oh boy, I'm shot myself," that one from Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh boy, I'm the man for this, so I'm shot myself. That's so good.
First party, we've got Fair Games from Haven, and then we've got Marathon from Bungie, and there are some other
No one literally cares about Marathon from Bungie. Bungie can go shove Marathon to where the sun don't shine and no one's gonna even flinch.
exclusives. Convallaria is a live third-person shooter. There's Lost Soul Aside, a Final Fantasy 15-inspired action RPG from a new Chinese studio, founded literally to build that game that reportedly had a prototype so impressive that Sony signed them. Now,
Sony also signed Concord because they thought it's the future of gaming, and now we're paying the Concord tax for life.
to be clear, the State of Play did have more, and a lot of it was exciting. More Alan Wake 2, that's great.
Yeah, we actually we watched the State of Play. The State of Play wasn't actually that bad. It had a decent lineup of games that are, kind of good. Well, 2 or 3 games looked kind of good, but there were a bunch of games that look okay-ish at the bare minimum. Also, Bill, shut the fuck up. No one wants Alan Wake 2.
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remaster, which
Yeah, it's every day's leg day seemingly in the abyss.
actually looks good. And then the likes of Hell Is Us finally being seen again. It's a moody action game in a war-torn world with properly unsettling looking foes and peak vibes. The Midnight Walk looks absolutely gorgeous. Monster Hunter Wilds will destroy everybody's early 2025, but it'll do so in a cross-platform fashion. So, State of Play was 40 minutes of most flavors of peak video game. But a lot of it was not exclusive, and Sony did not dangle a future vision, and in order to fix their ailing narrative, they need a future vision. They need people to think it's more than just one or two things in a bunch of remasters. But while Sony were not able to do that, we can put together the piece.
Listen, if anyone who had a PlayStation would care about a bunch of more than a bunch of things and a couple of remasters, they would be a PC gamer.
And when we do, it turns out we know a lot. The big perception is that Sony just have no games. But is that their track record? Let's actually look and see what they've done. When we do, we see 1 to 2 major releases every year, along with at least 2 remakes or remasters. Demon's Souls, Spider-Man Remaster, Tsushima and Death Stranding Director's Cuts, Last of Us Part 1, Uncharted Collection, and of course the 2024 Horizon Zero Dawn and Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, along with Until Dawn, which also got a remaster. It's a pretty clear strategy. They make investments in big system-selling games to launch a system, maybe sell some Pro Edition consoles, and then have a remaster that helps launch their next generation console. Looking through the years, 2022 was the final one of truly gargantuan new releases. Or
have you ever thought how lame Spider-Man, by the way, would be in real life? Imagine you're on the street, you can see for like, I don't know, 300 meters, and suddenly Spider-Man comes swinging over your head, and you're like, wow, that's Spider-Man, that's so cool. And then you literally watch 30 seconds until he finally slow crawls his way through the sky away from your view. That would be the lamest shit ever.
That helps launch their next generation console. Looking through the years, 2022 was the final one of truly gargantuan new releases, or at least multiple of them. We had Ragnarok, Forbidden West, and Gran Turismo, and that was also the end of the cross-gen games. But then we hit 2023, that's where things go weird for Sony. Spider-Man 2 is there, and it did sell big, and then there is MLB. But that was it. They just did not have that much. Had they truly ran out of steam? Was the pipeline dry? Well, they were doing a lot of work. They were porting loads of things over to Steam, but I get the point. It absolutely seemed they went hard with investments to secure the next console generation, but then midway through, didn't have things to put on that console. But another part of their strategy also backfired. Sony stopped talking. You see, Ragnarok was talked about way before it came out. It of course got delayed, but not before people purchased PS5s. Add to that rocky internal projects and their live service slate being slashed, and we see that change of strategy. Mid-cycle, the utility of selling the future is a little bit diminished because you're no longer having to fight John
Kratos' kid looks like an iPad child. Jesus.
On Halo, and of course at the time, they didn't know that John Halo was a paper tiger. But then, and likely worse than just not having games, Sony took the void that they created and they filled it with their own bad news. The live service plans, large studio cuts, even to their winners. 2024's The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, which, yeah, was timed with the show's success, but wasn't new. I mean, that was a very new game. Why is it being remastered? Then, they narratively detach themselves from some of their wins. Take the success of Helldivers 2. Well, they kind of squandered the PR wins that they could have had with PSN because they looked like the bad guy who basically had just got control of Arrowhead. And then there's the Until Dawn remaster. That was great, but as that remaster came out, well, the studio co-founders had left.
Isn't Until Dawn 2, 3, or whatever version of the game is happening soonish?
And 90 people were cut from the studio, and then there's the likes of Concord that mean that even the wins of Astro feel like they are disgusting. We now understand that Microsoft expects to be fighting the PS6 in 2028. That means an 8-year console cycle with a Pro console in the middle. It's a pattern we all know, we've all seen. What happened?
You can't do that until... That's literally not even giving up. That's just saying that there's going to be no competition. Well, again, it's a console. I could not care less in general. Anyway, is that it? I think that's it. I was Bill here. Bye-bye.